Two hot topics in today's episode: the alleged people behind the September 21 violence in Mendiola, and more senators to be dragged into the flood control controversy. Good morning. I'm Atty. Karen Jimeno, and this is At the Forefront. As the September 21 Mendiola rally descended into chaos, accusations emerged of a plot to fund the storm and burn Malacañang. 4 individuals were tagged: former Executive Secretary Atty. Vic Rodriguez, former Manila Congressman Harry Ang-Ping, former Manila City Administrator Bernie Ang, and Atty. Ferdinand Topacio. Why were they implicated? Is this a case of political demolition or a serious charge that demands accountability? With us this morning is public interest lawyer and political vlogger, Atty. Ferdinand Topacio. Good morning, Atty. Ferdy.
Yes, good morning, Panyera Karen. Always good to be here at Bilyonaryo.
And it's always good to have you. So let's start. What happened during that day when Duterte's supporters were at Liwasang Bonifacio last September 21? Was there really a plan beforehand for those people in the rally to eventually march to Mendiola?
Actually, it was more of a spur-of-the-moment decision. And, even if there were plans, there is nothing inherently wrong with that. That is part of the rights of the people under the Constitution to peaceably assemble and petition the government for redress of grievances. So I don't see anything wrong with being at Liwasan or eventually marching to Mendiola.
Yes, that's true. May video kasi na nakuha mula sa isang nagsalita sa Liwasang Bonifacio na nagsasabing susugurin at susunugin ang Malacañang. Meron ba kayong knowledge of any groups that had plans to do this beforehand?
Ang natatandaan ko is that I heard someone saying, handa niyo yung mga lighters ninyo, which led someone in government to the conclusion that we were going to burn down Malacañang. Now, I asked them what the lighter was for, and someone answered that they planned to hold a candlelight vigil on Mendiola Bridge. So I said, let's scratch that idea because, number one, it looks like it was going to rain. There were gusts of wind, so I don't think that's practical. Number two, since we have already been hearing reports over media that there were some disturbances occurring, I said, let us not do anything that may be misconstrued as being destructive. So, we scrapped that idea. So, yung sinasabing lighter ni Secretary John Vic Remulla, tingin ko napakahirap naman sunugin ng isang gusaling kasing laki ng Malacañang sa pamamagitan ng lighter. Habang ikaw ay tinatransyon, tinitilgas ng mga PSG. So,
Tsaka lighter lang. Kahit naman sabihin mo na magsusunog, bakit lighter lang, ang liit-liit.
Exactly.
Unless, yun, I suppose, kung meron kayong dala na yun yung
Molotov
sisindihan.
siguro, yes.
So, which really happened in this case. Merong Molotov cocktail bomb.
Yes, but it did not come from us. It's very clear. Actually, kung gusto niya mag-imbestiga, mga pulis naman yon, it is under the DILG. Noong dumating po kami at the corner of Moraita and Recto, there was a phalanx of riot police. And we dialogued with them. Together with me was retired General Esperidion Javier. We approached the police. Naka-hands up kami as a sign that we are not armed. Sabi namin, mga kasama, nandito po kami para magmarcha. Wala po kayong dapat alalahanin sa amin sapagkat hindi po kami manggugulo kay may mga estudyante, empleyado, professional, retired policemen. We are just here to air our grievances. Ngunit may isa pong grupo na along Recto na. And I think this was covered by media who started to attack. What we did...
Ito ba yung mga nakamask?
Yes, nakamask.
Grupo?
Actually, they tried to join us from Liwasang Bonifacio. But what we did was, we asked them, we accosted them. We asked them, sino kayo? At you are not part of us. So, ang ginawa po namin, tumigil po kami sa may Quiapo. naglalagay kami ng mga marshal sa likod para hindi sila makasunod. Evidently, they took another route around the recto. Hindi ko alam kung saan sila dumaan. At nandun sila. You know what I did? Kasi nagtatakbuhan na po. To show that we were not part of it. Kasi sabi ko, huwag kayo magpanik. Pag tumakbo kayo, baka sabihin kasama kayo. You know what we did? And I think this was captured by a lot of cameras. Pinaupo ko yung grupo namin.
Para ma-distinguish kayo
to distinguish
dun sa...
and to show that we are not running. And we were not throwing anything because it's difficult to throw anything. It would be ridiculous to throw stones while you're sitting down. So, pinakita namin na kami ay payapa. And then, when we arrived at Mendiola, nakalusot po kami kasi sumugod po yung mga riot police. So, we proceeded to Mendiola. There was a solid phalanx. I think 4 or 5 deep ng mga police. The ground commander, I looked for the ground commander. It was a certain General or Colonel Aberin. And I told him, Sir, ako po si Atty. Topacio. Sabi niya, kilala ko po kayo. Sir, wala po kayong alalahanin. We will just hold a 5-minute program in front of Mendiola. Symbolic naman lang yung Mendiola eh. Hindi naman para lusubin mo yung Malacañang. That would be foolhardy.
Bakit importante sa inyo na sa Mendiola nyo gawin yung programa?
Well, it gives the effect that we are able to relay our grievances to the chief executive.
Sa may Malacañang.
Yes, doon sa bridge. Pero hindi mo mape-penetrate yun, imposible. Unless siguro mga kalahating milyon ka, ma-overrun mo. Kasi may mga truncheons, may mga equipment sila pang disperse. So sabi ko, pwede po ba mag 5-minute program lang po kami, after which we will disperse. Alam niyo kung bakit gusto na namin mag-disperse at that time? Kumakagat ng dilim, and there were also other groups na talagang unruly.
Ito yung mga nakamask.
Yes, so sabi namin, and then may dumadating na ng ibang grupo na yung mga left-leaning na medyo maingay. Sabi namin, baka ma-infiltrate, baka magkaroon ng confusion, madamay kami. Nag-program kami, we even cut it short because of the approach of another group with the red banners. After that, kung facing po ng Mendiola, kumanan kami yung papuntang National Teachers College, and we dispersed before dark. So, tapos na po yung maisog, yung galing sa liwasan na grupo namin, before dark, dispersed na po yun. Wala na po yun. Although, yung iba po, nasa vicinity, ako nga bumili pa ng kapit tinapay dun sa 7-Eleven po malapit dun eh.
So you have corroborating witnesses kung nasaan ka, sa the whereabouts mo. So, what's your reaction to the allegation that you were part of a group that funded the violence during the Mendiola rally?
I don't even know where that came from, kasi someone must have pulled it out of their ass. Kasi unang-una, hindi po ako organizer dun sa Liwasang Bonifacio. So, my day was like this. I went to Gate 4 of Camp Aguinaldo, wearing a PDP shirt with my name on it. So, kung ikaw manggugulo, ba't talagay mo pa yung pangalan mo? Diba, why identify
Well, I suppose
yourself?
in this case, the insinuation is that you and the 3 others, Attorney Vic Rodriguez, Bernie Ang, and Harry Ang Ping, funded the group na ng gulo. So parang hindi halatang affiliated sa inyo dahil iba yung suot ninyo, iba rin yung suot nila.
Well, unang-una, okay I do not talk to Vic Rodriguez. I've not talked to him for the longest time.
So hindi kayo magkasama rin sa rally? Magkaiba yung grupo ninyo?
From what I've heard, he was abroad. Okay. Si Bernie Ang, the last I talked to him was during a seminar sa PDP headquarters. Kasi yung PDP headquarters is in a building that belongs to him. Si Harry Ang Ping, natatawa nga ako, I called him, he's a friend of mine from way back, from the time of Mayor Lim, politiko na yan. I called him and I said, Harry, baka may nakakita sa atin nung manonood tayo ng concert ng Air Supply. Baka sabihin doon tayo.
So ganun katagal pa yung last nakita ninyo?
Recent yung Air Supply, last week. Pero sabi ko...
last week lang pala yun.
Pero sabi ko, never kaming mag-indulge in violence. Even yung circular ng PDP has emphasized that wag tayong gumawa ng karahasan. Ito na lang, Karen, ang masasabi ko. In all sincerity, baka hindi magandang marinig ng iba. Pero gusto ko sabihin, mamatay na ang buong angkan nung nag-umpisa, nagbigay ng pera, nagpakulo noong violence na yon. Kasi lagi ko sinasabi nung rally, sinabihan ko pa yung grupong yon, huwag niyo sasaktan ng mga pulis. Sila'y hindi natin kalaban. Sila'y ninakawan din katulad natin. Bakit niyo sasaktan ng pulis?
Oo, at bakit nagsunog pa ng container truck, ng motorsiklo?
ang tingin ko, Karen, although speculative at this point, is that this is a false flag operation. There is someone who is interested in creating an atmosphere of chaos to justify the cracking down on the legitimate opposition. Alam kong wala akong pruweba, pero this is what I think it is. Kasi Karen,
So your theory is more than an opposition to the government, baka part pa ng government yun
maaari kasi kita nyo di ba kaalyado ng majority ngayon, yung so-called Makabayan Bloc, so-called hindi ko sinasabing talagang Makabayan sila. Sinong mga naaresto? Sinasabi na ni Colonel Ines, yung spokesman ng PNP. Mga miyembro ng Gabriela, miyembro ng Akbayan, miyembro ng ACT Teachers Party List.
Yun ang mga naaresto.
Sila yung mga naaresto, confirmed ng pulis. Sinong dumalaw? Confirmed din yan. Sinong dumalaw dun sa mga naaresto? Si Sara Ilago, si Reneco, si Congressman Titinho, si Conching Tinio. Kami wala. Kasi wala kami pakialam dun sa mga taong yun. We do not know them from Adam. At saka sino bang may history of violence? Ang PDP ba? O yung mga makakaliwang mga grupo?
So are you saying make crackdown? The other theory would be yung nag-fund is to incite violence supposedly against the administration para mag-crackdown
Maaari
sa
kasi
left.
ang bilis nilang magsabi. Wala pa nga investigasyon. Sasabihin nila, ako, si Vic Rodriguez, si Harry Angping, di ba? O si Bernie Ang. Ang bilis Ay, investigahan nyo naman. Ano ba sinabi ng mga tao? Sino ba nagbayad sa kanila? Wala ba nagtanong man lang doon sa mga tao?
Well, a lot of the people that were detained, around 200 na raw yung nahuli at na-detain, wala daw legal representation. Would you or your group volunteer to help them out in terms of legal representation para lumabas din yung katotohanan?
No, we cannot because to provide them with legal representation would mean to condone the violence that they committed. Naglabas na po ng opisyal na pahayag ang PDP na kinokondena po namin yung violence.
Well, Congresswoman Sara Ilago was here yesterday and she said na merong mga naaresto, including minors, na wala naman daw kinalaman sa gulo. And she was able to talk to some of the families of the people detained. And they said na yung iba nandun lang para makiusyoso or yung iba nag-video at TikTok lang doon, pero naaresto pa rin. So, it seems like kung totoo man yun, merong mga casualties, yung mga walang kinalaman sa violence that were arrested.
Yes, that may be, but it does not detract from the fact that there seems to be an orchestrated effort to pin on the legitimate opposition the violence that occurred last September 21. Delikado po yan Ma'am Karen. You know why? Because if you crack down on the legitimate, peaceful opposition, ano matitira sa'yo? Yung violent, extremist opposition. So, anong mangyayari sa bansa natin kung ang iipitin mo yung lehitimong mga oposisyon?
Are you willing to participate in an investigation regarding this matter?
Definitely, because we have nothing to hide. At I'm willing to take a lie detector test basta hindi lang compromised yung agency na gagawa niyan. Oo, kasi wala talaga, wala po. Oo.
Can you say the same thing on behalf of Harry Angping, Bernie Ang, and Attorney Vic Rodriguez? Will they be willing to participate in an
I do
investigation?
not know, but I personally know Bernie Ang. Konsihal pa yan nung panahon ni Mayor Lim, and I was with the city government of Manila. Very gentle. The man could not hurt a fly. Si Harry Angping, kilala ko rin yan. At although minsan he can be passionate, walang history of violence
Kung makakaharap mo yung mga rallyista na nanggulo, ano ang sasabihin mo sa kanila?
Well, I would ask them who paid them. Sino bang pasimuno? Kaya lang, as you know, Ma'am Karen, it is so easy to conceal oneself through the use of layers dito. We may never know the truth. Pero ako, I can in good conscience say na hindi po kami ng gulo. Nandun din po kami. Muntik na nga kaming madamay. And you can ask the people there, including retired General Javier. At na kami nga umatras because yung phalanx were going to go forward to intercept that group. Bakit kami manggugulo kung kami nadadaplis-daplisan din doon? At nagbukas pa nga yung iba ng payong to ward off yung mga flying projectiles doon.
Sa iyong palagay ba, marami pang rally na padating for this anti-corruption movement?
Yan pa isa, Ma'am Karen, Palagay ko, they're doing this to send a chilling effect na wag na kayong mag-rally sapagkat baka mapagbintangan kayo kung may violence. This is intended to dissuade. Saywari ito to dissuade people from exercising their rights under the Constitution. Pananakot po ito. At hindi ako magtataka kung mag-fabricate ng evidence against us and i-arrestuhin kami. At magkaroon ng mga measures para sikilin ang mga karapatan ng mga tao na ihayag ang kanilang mga saloobin.
In your opinion, ano ang theory mo? Who is behind this? Yung kung meron man totoong nag-fund doon sa nag-cause ng violence sa Mendiola, sino ang suspicion mo?
Well, your guess is as good as mine. Pero we want to make it clear na hindi po kami. Can you imagine a certain a group identified with Makabayan, yung si Jerry De Gracio, even posted on social media na naiintindihan daw niya kung bakit nagkaroon ng violence kasi biktima rin ng violence yung mga nag-commit ng violence. He is justifying violence in the streets. Never po namin ginawa yan. We cautioned against it. Ang dami-dami ko pong interviews na ma-access nyo online. Lagi kong sinasabi, tayo ay mapayapa because ang Pilipino na nananakit ng kapwa Pilipino ay hindi tunay na Pilipino. And here is this guy saying na justified na manakit dahil sila rin daw ay nasaktan. Sino dapat na imbestigahan? Kami ba? O yung mga nagja-justify ng violence? I mean, come on, di ba? These people are barking up the wrong tree, which is always the case under the present administration.
Well, last question. Magkakaiba yung mga locations ng mga rally last September 21. Yung rally daw sa Liwasang Bonifacio ay DDS rally. Would you agree with that? Meron bang sariling agenda yung rally sa Liwasang Bonifacio?
Ang agenda namin is Marcos resign. Talagang yun ang pinapanawagan namin. Hindi mo mapipigil. May mga tao talaga roon na Duterte supporters at sumisigaw sila, Duterte, Duterte. Oo. Legitimate din naman yun. Wala namang masama po roon. Ganon din naman yung agenda doon sa Gate 4. Marcos resign, hold those accountable. Huwag tayong humanap ng scapegoat. Walang dapat exemption. Pare-pareho po yan. I was never in the People Power Monument, by the way, contrary to what some people say. Nakakatawa nga. Binudaw ako roon. Sayang lang daw hindi nila screenshot. Hindi nyo po may screenshot. I was never at the People Power Monument. From Gate 4, nagutom ako, kumain ako sa isang fast food joint, then pumunta na po ako sa Liwasan.
So Liwasang Bonifacio lang talaga yung rally that you attended?
Yung sa Gate 4 din po. When we called for a noise barrage na marami namang nag-respond ng mga dumadaan po. At when we called for accountability, I gave a short speech there in the same way that I gave practically the same speech sa Liwasang Bonifacio.
Okay. Thank you so much,
Yes,
Attorney
ma'am.
Ferdinand
Thank you so
Topacio.
much.
And it was good to hear your side of the story.
Yes, thank you. And I'm always glad to be here. It makes me feel like a bilyonaryo, kahit hindi.
Thank you. We'll have Attorney Raymond Fortun, the legal counsel of DPWH Assistant District Engineer Bryce Hernandez, when At the Forefront returns after a short break. With a probe on the flood control scandal getting deeper in the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee, DPWH whistleblower Assistant District Engineer Bryce's computer is a vault of evidence. 6 senators, past and present, are said to be implicated. Is this the start of a reckoning for the Senate, or just the opening shots in the nation's war against corruption? Gracing At the Forefront is prominent litigator and lawyer of Bryce Hernandez, Attorney Raymond Fortun. Good morning, Attorney Raymond.
Karen, magandang umaga po sa inyo.
Well, first let's start with you being the counsel for Assistant District Engineer Bryce Hernandez. How did you become his counsel? Matagal na po ba kayong magkakilala?
No, we were engaged as counsel as soon as the issue came out. No, during this privileged speech of Senator Lacson, the name of Bryce Hernandez came out. And it was then that one of my partners, si Attorney Levanza, was tapped, was contacted, and then Bryce hired our law firm. At that particular time, being the managing partner of the firm, I was just merely on supervisory functions. Pero lately, he had been pleading, actually, that I would be speaking for him because of my, well, shall we say, more of my expertise in dealing with the media.
And bakit mo naisip tanggapin? Hindi ka ba nag-hesitate na this is going to be, well, one, highly controversial, but, you know, at the privileged speech, he was at the time pointed to as someone that would be guilty of, you know, the offense that probably might involve plunder, bribery.
Alam mo, yan ang usual na tanong sa atin when we're in law
Yes,
school.
I
diba?
agree. Oo.
Are we, knowing that, for example, somebody approaches you and you know that this person is guilty, or even umamin sa'yo, I'm guilty, do you take the case, or do you have to take the case? And the answer can be found in Rule 138, Section 20, subparagraph I of the Rules of Court. It says that regardless of your own personal opinion as to the guilt or innocence of the accused, you have to accept, it is your duty to defend that client, but by all fair and reasonable means, with the rules allowed under the law.
Yeah.
So, and that's what we have to do.
Yeah.
Merong lumapit sa atin, even if the person appears to be guilty, even if the evidence is so great, we have to help, because under our Constitution, every person is entitled to his choice of counsel, and we have that duty to protect him.
Yes, and it is part of our code of professional responsibility.
We have no choice.
And even those that are accused are, of course, entitled to due process.
But one thing is, we have to be an instrument of the law and the bench and the bar as well.
Oo, yeah. I mean, that's really very important, no? Kasi minsan hindi mas distinguish ng mga non-lawyers na, mukhang guilty yung, bakit i-represent mo pa rin? But the role of the lawyer is to give them the representation they need and subject to due process, but not to lie, right? Not to lie on their behalf.
Not to present perjured witnesses, not to present fake documents.
So when Bryce Hernandez's computer was retrieved, how sure are you that the contents were not tampered with or compromised?
I honestly cannot give any assurance as to that. No, remember that Bryce was detained by the Senate. I think the first week of September. During that period of time until last Saturday, that computer was out there, under in his house. So I really would not know if it had been tampered or if the integrity of the computer has been compromised. I am only relying, therefore, on good faith, that that computer will house enough evidences in order to support the statements already made by Bryce before the Senate with regard to the personalities. Bryce, on his own, he has already the memory of the scheme, who the people that he dealt with, who are responsible, what actions that he did. Pero indeed, the government needs hard evidence, not just talk. Hopefully, the computer will contain all of these hard evidences that will be necessary for prosecution and subsequent conviction.
From the computer of Bryce Hernandez, you hinted that there are 4 incumbent senators and 2 former senators involved in this whole flood control controversy. At the time, why did you choose to make that public disclosure before we find out the identities of these senators at the proceedings?
Part of due diligence of a lawyer, we speak with the client and then we discuss what his defenses would be, what evidences that he has. So, of course, meron siyang mga binanggit ng mga tao. And that is something that is food for thought for us as his defense counsels. Now, the thing is that after I had given that statement, immediately after that, I was told to stay quiet.
Who told you to stay quiet?
Bryce.
Si Bryce, okay.
He said, pwede ba, attorney, wag na muna nating pag-usapan o i-extend or to extensively talk about that because, in fairness to Bryce, what he wants kasi, from the very beginning, he's been very consistent. He will only come out with names na kaya niyang panindigan, meaning that he has the evidence on. At the time that he appeared before Congress and for the first time brought out the names of Senator Joel and Senator Jinggoy, meron siyang resibo Nandun dun sa phone niya, photographs, no, and also no yung data.
Yeah.
No,
And
with
even
regard.
he was aware of the text message. Nabasa niya rin before.
Yes, that's
yung text
right. So-
message from Senator Joel to
So, if people
DE
will
Henry.
remember, it was Bryce who for the first time came out with the name Senator Joel, Senator Jinggoy, Yusek Bernardo, Mitch Cahayon. I mean, and it's only now no na kinonfirm ni Engineer Alcantara. Before that, he was denying to death no na kilala niya na hindi daw sila close, no ganito,
Si
ganito.
DE Alcantara yung
Correct.
nag-deny before,
No?
yes.
And so you will see that si Bryce is a person who will not say anything unless he has the hard evidence. So when tinawagan niya ako kahapon, the other day, no, immediately after that interview, sinabi niya, pwede ba, attorney, wag na natin pag-usapan until mabuksan yung computer and until the documents that we submitted to the Blue Ribbon Committee have been unsealed as well. Because you can already sense that he wants that all of these information would only be disclosed when we have the hard evidence.
So ganun siya. Gusto niya not just testimonial evidence, but also documentary and other types of physical evidence.
In his own words, sabi niya, ang hirap magturo na wala akong basehan.
Well, we already are aware as a public of Senators Jinggoy Estrada, Joel Villanueva, and DE Henry Alcantara also
Yes.
mentioned former Senator Bong Revilla.
Yes.
Iba pa po ba to dun sa sinasabi mong four other senators na incumbent and two other past senators na madadamay pa or kasama pa dito sa flood control controversy?
Well, he's already mentioned Senator Senator Jinggoy and Senator Joel. And as his spokesperson, those are the only two persons that I am authorized to
To
speak.
mention. Pero yung na-hint mo before na 6, additional pa ba yun?
No.
Okay, so baka
just
kasama
an
na-
additional 4.
Okay.
But I've been disauthorized to speak further about it.
In the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee hearing last Tuesday, Bryce also disclosed 3 Bulacan congressmen as
Yes.
having received kickbacks. Are there more congressmen in the list that we're potentially going to find out soon from Bryce?
I have been disauthorized to speak about any further names until the evidence comes out.
Okay, this is starting to feel like a courtroom na nasa witness stand ka.
Yan ang problem about
Yeah.
about an attorney, no? We have this
Oo.
thing called attorney-client privilege,
Yes, of
no?
course.
So
Oo.
we
I
cannot
understand that.
disclose anything unless the client says
Has
so.
authorized, yes.
Ang hirap, no? But well, again, you can read between the lines.
Okay. Well, oo nga. I'm going to guess na marami pa na ibang congressmen na lalabas.
If you say so.
Kasi bakit yung computer, di ba? Very important. But
Yes.
considering that the computer was turned over to the DOJ already, is that correct?
Yes, it has been. It has been unsealed as of yesterday as well.
So considering it has been turned over, are you concerned that that might be compromised, meaning the contents might be compromised in a sense that the DOJ is still under this administration, and if there are names implicated that are, allies of the president or close to the president, you think that might prevent those names from coming out?
We gave the computer to the DOJ under good faith and with full trust that its contents will be revealed. And we have full trust. We actually lay the trust on the DOJ that the truth will come out. It's as simple as that, no? Ang hirap nung magbibigay ka na hindi mo mapagkatiwalaan. We
Yeah.
just have to rely on them that they will do their jobs properly.
Well, Bryce has been detained due to a ruling of contempt in Congress and Senate
In the
first,
Senate.
nauna sa Senate, yes. Are you, what is your position on that? Have you tried to file a motion to lift that contempt order? Because you raised a good point na, for example, yung computer niya, we don't know what happened in the meantime while he was detained. Where, in fact, if he were allowed to go home, then he could have secured the evidence.
Yeah, well, on the matter of him being still under contempt, may rules naman ng Senate on it, no? The contempt citation provides that you are going to be placed under detention until you relieve yourself from the contempt.
Yeah.
And relieving from the contempt means that you testify freely, you testify voluntarily, you answer all of the questions that are required, no, and it would appear that you're telling the truth. So the truth is we have been filing several letters or requests, no, for the contempt to be lifted. But up to now, no, it has not been acted upon. Sanay na ako dyan, no, kasi even during the other cases that I've handled before the Senate, in other controversial cases, we've asked for the same kind of lifting of the contempt.
Pero
Hindi naman
hindi
talaga
matagal.
inaaksyonan, no?
Oo.
So, wala naman din kami magagawa, no? The matter of lifting is discretionary on the Senate, and if you really feel that you have been oppressed, then you raise the matter up to the Supreme Court.
Do you plan to do that?
Not at the moment. It may be hard for them right now because their liberty is basically restrained, no? Pero there's also a good side to it. His safety is at least preserved. We're sure that no harm will come to them. So in a way, yeah, it's a curse as well as a blessing.
But do you feel as a lawyer that contempt power is also being abused? Because the reason for holding him in contempt, which was before being non-cooperative,
Yes.
refusing to answer questions directly, has already been lifted as far as Bryce is concerned. He's really cooperating right now and even turning over evidence. So, hindi ba to na abuse yung power of contempt and detaining people beyond what's necessary reasonably?
The matter of abuse, no, is something that they should be circumspect about, whether they have actually been abusive. As for us, the most that we can do is show the reasons why the contempt should be lifted. And we are hopeful that they will see the valid grounds that we have raised and will in fact favorably act on the same.
You mentioned kanina yung safety ni Bryce Hernandez as being a concern. Now he is already officially under the witness protection program of the DOJ or hindi pa ba?
No, he's only a protected witness.
Protected witness.
So-
Anong meaning doon? Bibigyan ba siya ng security?
My understanding is that it only means that the DOJ will now have a greater reason to look after them because their applications to the WPP are still under evaluation. Meaning that meron nakikita ang DOJ na dahilan para pangalagaan ang kanilang kalusugan at yung kanilang, that they would be able to testify. But there's been no decision yet that they are included in the witness protection program.
You're also the legal counsel of former Senator Bong Revilla.
Yes.
Now that Bryce has named, well, actually it was D.E. Alcantara that named Senator Bong Revilla as one of the senators that benefited. If Bryce is to corroborate what D.E. Alcantara said, would that cause a conflict of interest that your former or current client is also being accused of your now current client, Bryce Hernandez?
If we're being technical about it, no, there would be no conflict of interest. Kailan ba nag-uumpisa yung conflict of interest? It is when a lawyer receives information that can be used against another who is also now your client. You will take note, no, that the information or reasons why I was engaged as counsel for Bong has totally no connection with regard to the flood control mess. And I can honestly say that in all my conversations with Senator Revilla, never namin pinag-usapan si Bryce Hernandez or yung flood control project. So technically, wala. No? I never received any information that can be used against Senator Revilla, no, at that time. But out of delicadeza, there's this thing, no, na in a situation where the one being sued or the one who is now being implicated due to the information supplied by my current client, then it would be best, that I would disengage myself or probably say that I cannot represent the other person simply because of the testimony of this witness.
Okay, and si Senator Bong Revilla, what were you representing him for?
Well, during yung time na nasa he had been accused of plunder before the Sandigan Bayan. I was his spokesperson as well for a time. And then very recently, he engaged me also to assist him in his plan to sue a number of vloggers for cyber libel. So, wala namang connection talaga dito sa flood control.
But out of delicadeza, you would
I
recuse
would-
yourself.
I would have to recuse myself to represent Senator Bong.
Well, yesterday, si Bryce Hernandez already returned some of the luxury cars that he owned. He already turned this over to the ICI.
Yes. Yes.
What is your position on restitution as a requirement to become a state witness? It is not in the law.
Yes, it's not in the law, no? But alam mo, again, as lawyers, no, we have a specific series of provisions in our civil code on human relations, starting from Article 19 of the Civil Code. For lawyers, no, this is important. It says that, we have to act with justice,
And
give
give
every
everyone
person
his
his
due,
due,
yes.
and observe honesty and good faith.
yes.
Pag meron kang ginawa sa kapwa, let's say nasaktan mo, you have to indemnify or to compensate. If you received something which you were not entitled to receive, you have to return. That's in Article 32. These are basic provisions in our civil code. So sa akin, I believe that if we're talking about a person who believes that he has committed a mistake, in this particular case, a mistake against the entire nation, it is just probably right, no? A moral duty to return the amounts and the items that he received because of his mistake.
But do you think this would apply to contractors as well? Considering that for contractors, they are running a legitimate business wherein they have their own costs as well. So up until the court is able to determine alin dun sa portion ng mga kinita ng company ay galing sa nakaw at ilan din dun yung galing sa legitimate business, then restitution might be more tricky to apply.
Sa akin, anybody who can be pinpointed as responsible for all of the floods, no, in our country, hanapin yun, look deep into your hearts, and then do the right thing for the country, for the people, no? Kasi pera naman talaga nila yan, eh. All of these monies that you saw on that table, they came from taxpayers' money or probably even loans of the government. Okay? In other words, the monies were supposed to be utilized for the good of the country. And the people who benefited from this, top to bottom, if, do the right thing. No? Because the people deserve it. Ako, I'm a taxpayer, you're a taxpayer, we deserve it.
Yeah.
No? So,
Ang sakit nga eh.
so tayo, no, ako as an instrument of the law, no, as a member of the bar, I find it my moral duty, no, to do the right thing, give advice to my client, tell him, let's do the right thing, no. Soli natin kung hindi naman nararapat, no, na para sa nagamitin, no, ng pakinabangan yan. Balik na natin, no, tapos so that the money can, kunyari, yung mga vehicles na yan, maibenta man lang, and then it can now go back to the National Treasury, and the National Treasury now would have the money to be able to correct all of these
Build what should have been built.
all of these substandard roads
Or ghost projects.
diba? Or ghost projects. Again, no, mabalik naman lang kahit na konti man lang, kahit nakatiting man lang nung mga dapat na mapunta sa tao.
During the PDAF scandal, there were 3 senators that were sent to jail, and you're actually a very relevant person to ask this because you previously represented Senator Bong Revilla.
Yes.
How do you think this current investigation would go? Palagay mo ba mas maraming senators ang makukulong? But before you answer that question, we'll have to take a short break. At the Forefront, we'll be right back. Welcome back at the Forefront. Attorney Raymond,
Yes.
in the past, nung PDAF scandal, there were 3 senators that were sent to jail. And in fact, one of them was your client, si Senator Bong Revilla. Do you think in this current flood controversy scandal, mas marami pang makukulong na senators?
If the evidence warrants it. Ako, sa akin, kung konti lang, kung sila lang naman talaga. Okay? we're talking about here, Karen, ito Bulacan First District lang to. If you listen to Sec Vince yesterday, this is just the tip of the iceberg. You're looking at, you need to evaluate all of the projects, whether flood control or not, the entire country, because for sure, no, if there's fire in one district, there's certain to be fire in other districts.
And you mentioned nga kanina na si Bryce has already been cooperating, but that's only in Bulacan. And in
Yes.
fact, Bryce has already confirmed na lahat ng projects nila dun sa district nila,
Yes.
lahat yon under-designed, meaning hindi daw talaga napupunta yung lahat ng pera sa projects.
Yes.
Talagang imposibleng walang kickback. So sabi niya, lahat talaga under-designed para meron kang buffer na ipamigay dun sa mga kailangan bigyan.
Right.
With what you said, palagay mo ba dapat ipatawag na rin yung SunWest? Yun yung rinaise din ni Congressman Marcoleta na bakit yung SunWest na nandun sa listahan na linabas ni President Bongbong Marcos and si Congressman Toby Tiangco showed in a USB drive so many insertions in the billions. I think 13 billion pesos yung pinakita niya na nakapangalan kay Congressman Zaldico as the proponent. Napakadami yun, and sa Bicol, that is his turf. Hindi pa to na sisiwalat man lang. So do you think this is something that, the Blue Ribbon Committee should also hear or call for? Asa na nga ba yung sa SunWest?
Ako, personally, this is just my personal opinion. I think all of these investigations, both by the House and the Senate, should just be terminated. Why? Because we already have the ICI. Yung ICI has been created by President Marcos to deal with the same issues. And I would like, hopefully, that the President will give more teeth into this ICI, meaning that they have contempt powers, they have the powers to freeze, and et cetera, no? There's already a body that has been tasked to investigate, and it really just is much better if everything is streamlined instead of that there's just so many parallel investigations that are ongoing, that even the witnesses themselves are already being taxed. No?
Tama.
One day,
A-appear ka
nandito sa Senate,
pupunta ka pang
mag-a-appear na naman
Congress,
sa House, tapos mag-a-appear sa ICI. I hope that we can just focus on one so
and
that
as trial
everything is...
lawyers, we also know na napakahirap yan for the witnesses, di ba?
Yes.
Even for us when we have a case that we present them as witnesses, yung isang hearing na yun, pagod na sila. What if sunod-sunod na araw pa, which is what's happening right now?
And the witnesses kasi, whether we like it or not, the witnesses will be testifying on the basis of memory. But sometimes the memory does fail. No? Yung minasabi mo dito sa isang investigation, sometimes on a minor detail, nagbabago. And even the Supreme Court recognizes that there would be minor inconsistencies with regard to testimonies. No, and it's up to the court to see whether the inconsistencies are actually material or not. What I'm saying is that pag multiple investigations, nagbago yung sinabi dito sa ganito, then they will harp on it and they'll make it appear that that witness is lying immediately, depende doon sa agenda. Then, nagmumukhang kawawa yung testigo. Ako, as a trial lawyer, I would prefer na iisa lamang yung korte and that the witness will be testifying only once. No? Ngayon, bahala na doon. If you want to cross-examine that person for several days or even weeks, no problem. Pero at least, isang beses na lang siya magte-testify in one venue.
Well, as a trial lawyer, in your opinion, palagay mo saan forum magiging mas effective? ICI or Senate Blue Ribbon? Because in the ICI, if you look at the composition, the personalities there are milder.
Yes.
In terms of the way they conduct themselves. Like you have retired Justice Andy Reyes, Secretary Babe Singson na hindi siya aggressive ba, na hindi rin pala sigaw. And you have someone who's the head of SGV na based on what I've seen so far, hindi rin siya hindi strong personality in a sense, hindi pa palaban, paaway. Whereas in Senate, you have strong personalities like Senator Raffy Tulfo. But you also have people of intimidating characters like Senator Ping Lacson because of his no-nonsense reputation. So anong forum palagay mo yung effective in terms of ferreting out the truth from the witnesses?
Both of them are effective to my mind. No, it's just that ako as a trial lawyer, I would prefer that the testimonies will be extracted from an impartial tribunal.
And
Yan naman
who
ang
would be
parate.
impartial in this sense? This is sa
No.
dalawang forum.
I think it's pretty obvious, no? Kahit sa Senate pa lang, no? I mean, there are always accusations na sinong pinagtatakpan nito, bakit pinutulak yung ganito. The Senate itself is divided. You know that there are two factions, no? Yung mga pro-BBM at saka yung mga pro-Sara, no? And it's unfair actually for them as well. No? It's unfair. Kaya sa akin, mas
It's unfair to
mabuti.
ask them to investigate themselves. Ganun ba? Or among
No,
their colleagues.
it's unfair that they're now being accused of being partial.
Because
Okay,
of the perception din na
Yes.
kasama mo yung mga ini-investigate at
Yes.
naniname, no?
Yes.
Well, speaking of sa mga kasamahan na naniname, si Undersecretary Robert Bernardo is in the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee hearing right now as we're doing this interview. At pinangalanan niya na daw si Senator Cheese Escudero, former Senator Bong Revilla, and former Senator Nancy Binay as also being part of this flood control controversy. What is your comment on that?
As spokesperson for Bryce Hernandez, I have no comment.
No comment. But as a taxpayer, nagulat ka ba?
On ito na lang, no, baka mapagalitan ako ng kliyente ko kasi again, it's out of my bounds, no.
Yeah.
Senator Cheese, I did not see his name in
Dun
Bulacan.
okay, sa Bulacan.
I did
Hindi.
not see his name, and his name never came up in my discussions with Bryce Hernandez. Never. Sino? Nancy Binay? No. Her name was not discussed.
Okay.
First time for me to hear about it.
Okay. And former
I
Senator
am not
Bong
saying
Revilla.
that they are not responsible.
Oo. Pero at
but
least sa Bulacan, with Bryce, wala.
not discussed, not mentioned. Senator Cheese and Senator Binay. No. Sino yung, meron pang isa pa na
Former Senator Bong Revilla.
former Senator Bong Revilla. I have no comment.
No comment. Okay. So silence means yes. I'm just kidding.
No.
Okay. So in your assessment, how soon can complaints be filed with the ombudsman for the incumbent lawmaker?
Wow. Wow.
Based on your experience then, as a lawyer, sa mga ganitong klaseng kaso.
Kung mga ganitong klaseng kaso, we're talking about months.
Months,
In the normal course of proceedings. Why? Because due process, you have to file the complaint, no? It has to be threshed out. May palitan ng mga pleadings, and then they would have to sift through the evidence, the arguments, etc. And any panel will always have difficulty, especially when we're talking about personalities, no? I mean, they want to be careful. Hindi naman yan pwede na, binention yung pangalan mo, sige. Let the court decide. That's the worst kind of argument. And hate na hate ko yan, yung whenever yung prosecutor sasabihin ganyan, ito yung arguments mo, okay, hindi, these are evidentiary in nature, no? And let the courts decide. Paano kung talaga namang inosente? No? Tapos on the basis lamang of an uncorroborated, unsubstantiated, and clearly self-serving state allegations, and then makukulong yung tao because
Yeah.
it's a non-bailable offense. I hate it when they do that, no? Kaya nga, I was so happy when Secretary Remulla said that the basis now for finding of probable cause is now reasonable certainty of conviction, meaning
Yeah.
that ngayon medyo it's a little bit high as standard now, and hopefully that yung mga talagang inosente will now be
Yeah.
will not have to face prosecution. But what I'm saying is that under the normal course of proceedings, we're talking still about months. Now, this is not normal. I'm not saying that the prosecution should be forced into moving quicker simply because the public opinion is so great. Hindi rin tama yan. Again, as lawyers, we want to maintain the dignity of the law. We want to uphold the standards of justice. And justice means giving a person his due, meaning yung right niya to due process as well. Specifically, Article 3, Section 1 of the Constitution, that no person shall be denied of his right, liberty, or property without due process of law. I am still hopeful, despite the desire for quick action here, that the rule of law will prevail and only the guilty will be brought to trial.
Well, theoretically, kung sakaling malaman na guilty ulit si Senator Bong Revilla in this case, are you worried that the penalty will be higher for him, considering we have under our revised penal code that recidivism as an aggravating circumstance? Yung recidivism, ibig sabihin umulit yung sa isa crime.
Oh, yung dun sa PDAF case ni Senator Bong, he was acquitted. So recidivism will not come into play. Recidivism means na na-convict na dati, tapos na kinasuhan ulit at makukonvict ulit for the same crime. Recidivism will not apply for Senator Bong because in 2019, he was acquitted.
In this current flood control controversy, the way it's being handled by the Blue Ribbon Committee, the government through the ICI, and then the people showing their anger already with the September 21 rallies, do you think this will lead to lasting reforms or makakalimutan lang ito eventually?
It's up to the people now to make sure that these things will not happen again. You and I, we want a better Philippines. We're being left behind in Southeast Asia, okay? You just go to Vietnam, you go to Cambodia, and they're so much better than us. Tama na, pwede ba? No? I mean, I do my job properly, you do your job properly. We earn an honest living, and that's
And
also
we pay the right taxes, so masakit talaga na
that's
nangyayari
also
to.
what we expect that the people in government will do. No, just serve us properly, and we will have no problem. We will sleep well at night.
Okay, so last question, will Bryce continue to cooperate?
Fully, 100%. And if he starts not cooperating the way that I want him to do, expect that we will just disengage as counsels. I will never be used as an instrument for the untruth.
Okay, are you going to the Blue Ribbon Committee hearing after this?
Mukhang exciting eh.
Oh, pupunta ka. Okay, thank you so much, Attorney Raymond Fortun. It was a pleasure to have you here.
It's a pleasure to be here, Karen, as well. Thank you.
The flood control scandal is far from over, with more names likely to surface. For now, the public waits as investigators weigh the evidence and the political stakes. One thing is clear, the story is only just unfolding. Be timely informed, be insightful of the news. Always stay at the forefront. Join us again tomorrow for insights on issues that matter. This is Attorney Karen Jimeno. Thank you for spending your hour with us.